So today we're going to talk about what went wrong during the midterms and why the Republicans didn't have the red wave like they were hoping for. So I'm going to cover that and a whole bunch more today. I'm Laoch, and this is Laoch's When the Hammer Drops. All right, folks. So today we're going to go over my opinion of what went wrong during midterms, why the Republicans didn't get the votes or the red wave that they were so hoping for, and it was just coming in as a trickle, like a little rainstorm. There's a lot of reasons for this. People want to point fingers towards Trump. People want to point fingers towards McConnell. People want to point fingers all over the place. And that right there is part of the problem, is the pointing of the fingers. Nobody wants to take accountability for what they did or didn't do. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of the Republican candidates ran shitty campaigns, flat out. The money wasn't there. That's McConnell's fault. Instead of putting money where McConnell should have, like Arizona, Nevada, stuff like that, Georgia, Philadelphia, he decided to put the money in Alaska or states that basically will side with him on what he wants. And that's where that aspect went wrong. But before we get started, I mean, you see a lot of websites I have pulled up right here. I pulled something from The Circle. I have a couple things from CNN, which I will normally never do, but I want to show you folks that I'm very unbiased, so to speak. I don't sway one way or the other. If they have information, I'll provide it to you. And this is what I want to show you, that even CNN in one of these is actually turning against Biden, which is unheard of. I mean, CNN, if you know of CNN, heard of CNN, watch CNN, you know CNN is all about the left and pushing their agenda. And it seems like they've turned on good old Biden. So I have something in there that is very interesting. But before we get into that, like I was saying, I think another key problem and reason why the Republicans didn't win, and they had a very trickling effect, so to speak, is hands down that they're completely lost touch with the American voter, number one. Number two, they had zero plan on how to win this election, whereas the Democrats have been planning for this for years and years and years. Hence why they won. Okay? Now, I'm not going to say they didn't win fairly, because as we can see in the Arizona and Nevada late at night, all of a sudden the Democrats pull ahead and win. Fetterman out in Pennsylvania from the get-go wanted to sue to allow undated and misdated ballots to be counted. And then you had President Biden just day before the elections flat out say that there will be election deniers. Why would you say there would be election deniers unless there's any foul play? I mean, that's what I would honestly like to know. But that's neither here nor there. I'm coming today with what the exit polls show. And unfortunately, the exit polls don't show very well, because for the Republicans, and you'll see. And one thing that's very concerning about the exit polls is essentially the age bracket of who voted Democrat. And for that age bracket, it's really peculiar, because it leads me to wonder, like, what are they teaching in schools? Number one. Number two, I mean, we already know that they're trying to indoctrinate our kids at school. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that word. But it's, yeah, this goes down a little bit further. So let's just jump in here real quick. So one of the scary statistics that I found is that our youth, prefer Democrats by a 28-point margin. There's no way the Republicans are coming anywhere close to that or going to be able to beat that if that's the margin. A 28-point margin is ridiculous. Now, it says, according to Edison Research National Election Poll, exit poll, the national youth vote chose for the U.S. House of Representatives was 63% for Democrats, 35% for Republicans. That's almost identical to 2020. So in 2020, youth preferred the Democrats again by a 28-point margin. Now, that could be, you can just kind of, is that truly what's going on? I mean, it is one of those things. You can believe what you want to, but I mean, these are what this is pointing out. So when the youth preferred Democrats to Republicans by 62% to 36%, and a small shift in favor of Republicans from the previous midterms in 2018, the youth vote between Democrats and Republicans was 67 to 32%, which was the largest margin ever for Democrats among young voters. So the young people, ages 18 to 29, essentially decided this election. Now, 18 to 29. So we have kids that are just getting out of school or going to college, and we already know what college teaches these kids. And it's a lot of the stuff that the college teaches these kids is very, very left. And in school, I know that they're teaching kids that socialism's good, communism's good. And what we have now is bad. Which they weren't teaching that when I was in school. That's why, Gen X and before all typically usually end up voting Republican, whereas your Millennium, Gen Z, and all of them completely Democrat. Very few, small percentage are actually Republican, which is, again, pretty damn scary if you ask me. So we're just gonna, so here's your age groups. Age 18 to 29, 63% were Democrat to 35% Republican. Ages 30 to 44, 51% Democrat, 47% Republican. 45 to 64, higher Republican. I mean, this is, and then obviously ages 65 and up were mostly Republican. So our 18 to essentially 44-ish is very, very Democrat. And why? Why would they be Democrat? Well, I know that the Democrats were pushing, student loan forgiveness before the midterms, abortion, and all that fun stuff. And I'm going to get into that because it's funny how they sidetracked a lot of that shit just days after the election. So, but we're going to get into that here in a little bit. So, I mean, that's election, the circle. We're going to go to CNN exit polls. I'm going to show you a few of the numbers here, and then we're going to move on from the election. And, I think the next episode I'm going to do is on any of the elections is going to be how Kari Lake and the Katie Hobbs Arizona governor race went and how it was stolen from Kari Lake because it was. I'm going to do an episode on that entirely different, so stay tuned for that one. That one's going to be here in a couple of days as more information comes out. I don't want to just put it out there yet. I want to gather some more information on it, but let's get to what CNN says about the exit polls. So now, as you can see, House national results here. Again, 18 to 29, 63%. And as you were getting, age was going up, more and more of them started to go for Republican. Marital statuses. 58% of married couples voted Republican, whereas 41% Democrat. And it was obviously flipped for non-married. Conditions of the nation's economy. Okay, so this is where this is weird. Like 89% of Democrats feel like the economy is good, and this is what's confusing the most, because they ran polls and one of the main concerns for all of Americans was the economy. And now all of a sudden Democrats, all 89% say it's good, and only 9% of Republicans, and 88% of Republicans say it's poor compared to 10%. The economy's bad. I mean, I don't understand where this little number comes in right here. This 89%, where 21, or let's just say 89% of the 21% was said it was good. So 21% good versus 38% bad. Okay, ideology now. So race. Okay. I know that the Republicans were hoping for the African American vote and the Latino vote, and obviously they did not get it. So, and this is where I say that Republicans have lost touch. They didn't go out there like the Democrats say that we're going to keep, we're going to do something about the abortion rights. We're going to give you guys, student loan forgiveness. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Republicans did not do anything like that. And that was one, I think, of the killers for them, is that they just like, we're going to, they just looked at the exit. They looked at these polls and essentially just thought, yeah, you know what? We should be able to win just based off this, which obviously did not happen. I mean, or else we wouldn't be seeing this right now, folks. So 58% of white people voted Republican, or I'm going to take the top number. No, fuck it. All right. So out of 11% of African Americans, 86% of them voted Democrat versus 13. 11 out of the 11% Latino, 60% Democrat, 39% Republican. So they did gain some of the Latino vote and some of the Asian vote as well. But the African Americans, I mean, they're 11% that voted, 86% voted Democrat. That's a pretty high number. And that has to do a lot with in cities like Chicago, with just crime-ridden cities. Just there's no opportunity in these areas for people. Whether you're African American, you're Latino, you're white, you're Asian, whoever's living there, there's not very much opportunities in these neighborhoods, which you would think the Republicans would try and change that. But again, this is where, I feel that they're losing touch. So let's move on. In the region, obviously, East Coast and West Coast had very high numbers. 55% out of the 20% out of the East Coast, Democrat, 53 out of the West. And Midwest and South, it was pretty well heavy Republican. Males tended to, out of 48% of male, 56% of males voted Republican versus 53% female voted Democrat. All right. So work full time. We don't need to get into all that stuff. Okay. Condition of the nation's economy. 23% of people thought it was excellent, good, 76% not good, poor. But out of those, 88% of Democrats felt that the nation's economy was excellent versus 62% Republicans thought it was poor. I mean, okay. And now here's where we're going to get into this. This is about abortion. Abortion should be so legal in all cases. 29% feel that, and out of that, 86% were Democrat versus 11% Republicans. Legal in most cases, 30% voted in that area. Were the reason why they voted. 30% of the people voted in that area because of that. 60% of that was Democrats versus 38% Republicans. Illegal in most cases, 26%. 9% of Democrats felt that it should be illegal in most cases, versus 90% of Republicans thought it should be illegal in most cases. And then this is where it's not so good for the Republicans, because illegal in all cases, 88% out of the 10% that voted were voting because of abortion thought it should be illegal in all cases, which is not the case. I'm a conservative, and I feel that it should be illegal in most cases except for rape, incest, or the mother's life is in jeopardy. Then, yes, by all means. Or if you find out your baby's going to be, I hate to say it like this, but like in a wheelchair, deaf, blind, blah, 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 or brain dead or anything like that, then yes, all for it. Have the abortion. If it's going to be a complete burden like that, then yes, I'll agree. So, obviously military veterans, 14%. Yes, So, okay, let's move on. All right. So married with children, 55% of those, and that, the 21%, 55% were Republicans versus 42% Democrat. Married with children, that people that weren't married with children, there was an even tie. Out of 79% of those, 49% to 49% Democrat, Republican. I'm not going to get into this whole income garbage. Here again, abortion should be Democrats. Out of 60% legal, 73% of those were Democrats versus 25%. Illegal, out of the 37% there, 10% Democrat, 89% Republican. This right here, abortion, is what killed the conservatives. Right here. Abortion essentially killed the conservatives between the age group of 18 to 29. So that just tells me that the women essentially from 18 to 29 voted that way essentially because they want the right to kill babies. I mean, let's just call it how it is. So married men, 59% of them Republican, and the 30%, like these top numbers are like who like that came out and vote, like they took these polls from. So 59% Republican, married women, 56 Republican, unmarried men, still 52% Republican, and this is unmarried women, 68% Democrat, voted Democrat out of unmarried women. Excuse me, I had to grab a drink. So yeah, that's And again, I'm not going to get into anything that has to do with income because I don't feel that income should be based on exit polls. Just my opinion. Again, age 18 to 44, 55% Democrat versus 42% Republican. 45 and older, 54% of that was Republican versus 44% Democrat. And yeah, I'm not going to get into education. Okay, view of the Democratic Party, obviously Democrats, 44% favorable versus 53% unfavorable. Okay, so 95% was favorable for Democrats, 9% unfavorable of the view of the Democratic Party. Now, this is what's crazy. View of Joe Biden. Out of the 41%, 92% of those find Joe Biden favorable versus 14%. For Democrats, 85% of Republicans find him unfavorable. Does anyone in your household own a gun? Again, I don't know why they're asking this, but mostly Republicans own guns versus Democrats. They don't want to own a gun. Again, this is what they're teaching in schools where it comes to socialism and communism because they're not allowed guns. They're not teaching them the First Amendment, or the Second Amendment or anything like that and what it truly means. This is what I'm saying. Folks, if we don't get in touch with our youth and help them understand what our Constitution means. I mean, Fox News, I was watching Fox News last night. I'll get back to this. And they went around on Veterans Day and asked Americans, what is Veterans Day? No, there's like, out of all the people they asked, I think one or two people actually knew what the fuck Veterans Day was. And these are people that are in their 20s and 30s. And they have zero idea what Veterans Day is and what it means. This is your education system, folks. Your schools and your colleges are not teaching this stuff. They are teaching what they want you to learn, what they want, what is being pushed by your, and essentially it's mostly in Democrat states. This poll was, actually it wasn't a poll, but the people that were asking was all in New York, which is heavily Democrat. So in your Democrat states, I would love to see the curriculum for schools and colleges in Democratic run states versus Republican run states and see the difference. Because I guarantee you they're not teaching them everything that they should know. They're teaching them that socialism and communism is good, which we all know it's not. But unfortunately, when you have a president that is in the back pocket of Xi Jinping and the CCP or owned by him, well, then what are you going to do, right? So anyways, moving on. Unions. And this is why I'm not a big fan of unions, because they will go out and make their union, the union workers vote Democrat. And this right here. 57 out of the 18% of union households, 57% are Democrat. It's because, and I've witnessed it. During the 2020 election, I had union stewards come out to my job and telling their guys to vote for Biden Harris because, they're so good for the unions. Bullshit. They're not. In my opinion, I think unions are a fucking joke, and they just take your money. That's just my opinion. So, let's see here. I just saw the time. All right, so this is okay. Hold on. Now, view of stricter gun control measures, and of course, Democrats support this, whereas Republicans oppose it. I know in Illinois, they had a bill, or changed to a bill from 2012 to basically ban like AR-15s and stuff like that in the state of Illinois. They had that already pre-written up just before the elections, and guess what? It's going to go to the committee to get voted on. Way to go, folks. Let's just before I jump off this, to all my listeners, I hope you guys realize that we're a constitutional republic. And the only reason why countries like Russia and countries like China have not invaded us yet is because just about all Americans, or not all Americans, but a good chunk of Americans own a gun. Whereas in their countries, citizens aren't allowed to own guns. But that is what has kept countries like that off of U.S. soil, because they know that if they came here, they're going to be in for a fight because we have citizens that are heavily armed. And yet, that's why your Democrats want to take your guns away. You guys got to open your eyes and start thinking about this a little bit differently and look at it from a different angle and do your research. So, okay. Yeah, if you want to see any more of this, and for those of you that are listening to me on a podcast, you can go to CNN. Just it's 2022 exit polls, and it has a whole bunch of information on there. And speaking of that, if you are listening to me on a podcast, definitely give me leave me a review and give me 5 stars. It's going to help break the algorithms for me and get me out to more people. If you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and share. Whether you're on a podcast platform or you're watching this, please share the content. Now, this is where it's going to get good, folks, because I'm inside and I'm laughing because everything that was promised to you and the whole reason why you may have voted Democrat has been taken away. You're probably sitting there with your mouth dropped. Like, what do you mean it's been taken away? Well, let me explain it to you. Just the other day, Biden says Democrats will not be able to pass abortion rights legislation. Oh, no. You mean Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I mean. Your whole voting premise of because you want abortion rights, you want to be able to kill babies. Well, guess what? Depending on the state you live in, if you live in a Republican state, not going to happen. Sure, it's going to happen in some Democrat states like Illinois that, because they love killing babies here. They love killing babies in New York. And by the way, if you don't see the ties with abortion and killing babies here and what they do in China with the CCP, let me explain something to you guys real quick. And maybe you might start seeing the similarities here soon, I hope. In China, families are only allowed to have one baby. Anything more than that, if you get pregnant again after, it doesn't matter. You have one kid. If you get pregnant after that, that kid gets taken, and, well, guess what? You're being forced to have an abortion, or if you end up having that baby, hiding or whatever, that baby's going to be taken and essentially killed. So either way, you're going to have one kid. Now, and this is where I'm going to just go on. I'm just going to say it. If you're that high on abortion and you want to have the right for an abortion, move to fucking China. There you go. So, but your fearless leader, Biden, says that pretty much they're not going to be able to get any legislation done for abortion. And this is coming from, what is this? NBC News? So, on Monday, President Joe Biden said that he did not expect Democrats to have enough votes in Congress to be able to pass legislation codifying Roe versus Wade. You know what? And I'm going to say this right now. If the red trickle that happened had to do with abortion, which we all pretty much know that the red wave didn't happen because a lot of people 18 to 29 voted, and women voted because they wanted abortion legal. I'll take it, the trickle over the wave, because abortion and Roe versus Wade won't be overturned. And Roe versus Wade, there's nothing they're going to be able to do about it in Republican states. You're still in the same spot. So, bravo to all of those that voted on abortion, that went out to this midterms and voted because they wanted to kill babies. Bravo, because you just fucked yourself. Even though the economy was shit, inflation's bad, you went out and voted with your heart because you wanted to be able to kill babies and you wanted the right for an abortion. And now you don't have it. What President Biden promised you is gone, which brings me to my next thing. Talking about President Biden and things being taken away. How about this? Oh no, student loan borrowers. Hold on, sorry about this little pop-up. I need to know after federal court struck down Biden's forgiveness program. What? You're not going to be able to get your student loans forgiven now? What are you going to do? I mean, you did sign on the dotted line saying that you would repay those loans. Oh, I guess you're going to have to now. And this is where I was talking about in one of my episodes, the disinformation the Democrats were pushing. And I just provided you with two things that they were pushing that they lied about. There's not a damn thing they're going to be able to do about the Roe versus Wade, and there's not a damn thing you're not going to be able to get your student loans forgiven. And all of this will be brushed underneath the carpet and forgotten about. And up until 2024. Or after today, which is the 15th, and Number 45 is going to announce today his intentions for 2024. And then they'll bring this back out into the woodworks again to hope and play that card to get you to vote Democrat once again. Are you going to believe him a second time or a third time around? Because you've been duped I don't know how many times. So with that said, I think that's where I'm going to cut it for today, folks. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, please give me a like, because that's going to actually help on both those to get me to change the algorithms for the video aspect of this. Leave me a comment on the video. Let me know what you think. And then if you're watching this, you can also listen to this on any of the podcast platforms. All you have to do is just open up the podcast platform, put in Laoch When the Hammer Drops, and I will pop up on all of them. And whatever one that you listen to, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Google, whatever, leave me a 5-star, even Spotify, leave me a 5-star, leave me a review. Because again, that is going to help me beat the algorithms to get out to more people. And share all the content that you like. Don't forget to also check us out on our website at laochwhenthehammerdrops.com. I'm going to supply all of our social media links and some of the key spots that we're on for podcasts down below in the description. Thank you for listening. I will be back later this week with an update on the Kari Lake situation and Katie Hobbs out in Arizona, as well as I may be back a little bit sooner than that with, depending on what happens with Trump today, I may come back a little bit later on today with that. Until then, folks, be good to one another.